13, 14, and 15, this time we're going to do percent mixture problems. Kind of the same thing we just got doing, but this time we've got percents in there. It says a petroleum company has two different sources of crude oil. The first source provides a crude oil that is 50% hydrocarbons. The second one provides crude oil that is 75% hydrocarbons. In order to obtain 120 gallons of crude oil that is 65%, how many gallons of crude oil must be used from each of the two sources? So, how many gallons? How many gallons? So same kind of thing here. If I take the number of gallons from the first source plus the number of gallons from the second source, I had 120 gallons, right? My second equation is coming from the percent. The first one is 50% hydrocarbon. So if I do 50% of F, I would get whatever hydrocarbons are, how many hydrocarbons I have. The second one is 75%. So if I do 0.75 S, on the other side, I'm doing 65% of my total to find the total number of hydrocarbons. So I'm going to have 0.65 times that 120. So probably, obviously, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and multiply that out so I get a number there on my equation. 65% of 120 would be 78. So now again we have our two equations. We could solve by substitution, but I would probably use the elimination method again. If I was looking at this, I'd probably get rid of the 50% just because then I don't have negative numbers to deal with. So I'm going to multiply everything in my top equation times negative 0.50 or 0.5 if you want to use that. So minus 50F minus 50S equals 50% of 120, give me negative 60, right? So my F's cancel out. 75% minus 50% would be 25% of S. 78 minus 60, going to be 18. And then, of course, I have to divide. I'm going to let you do that for me. 18 divided by 0.25. 72. So I had 72 gallons from my second source. I want to know how many gallons from my first source. I know that the first plus 72 equals 120 because the sum was 120. And so if I just subtract, I'm going to end up with
48.
So not a whole lot different than the ones we just did, just watching on this last part that I have to multiply the percent by my total gallons. So number 14, the Royal Fruit Company produces two types of drinks. The first type is 40% pure fruit juice and the second type is 90% pure fruit juice. The company is attempting to produce a fruit drink that contains 75% pure fruit juice. How many pints of each of the two existing types of drink must be used to make 150 pints of a mixture that is 75% pure fruit juice? So, how many pints? What might I use for my first equation?
T plus B equals 150.
T plus B equals my 150 pints of my drink. My second equation.
Um, 40% T plus 75% of B equals...
Whoops. Not 75% B,
90?
90% B. Right, 90% of the second equals,
Is that 75% of 150?
exactly, 75% of my total amount of juice. So if we go ahead and figure out what is 75% of 150.
112.5.
112.5 is how much pure fruit juice we had out of the 150 pints. Okay, so if we decide to solve that by the elimination method, we might multiply the top equation times what?
Negative 40%.
Negative 40%. So negative 0.40t minus 0.40b equals negative 40% times 150.
Negative 60.
Negative 60. So the t's cancel out. 90% minus 40% would be 50%. 112.5 minus 60.
52.5.
52.5. So if we divide that by our 50%,
105.
105. So we had 105 pints of our very good juice. We still need to find out how much we have of the Tropic Tangy. We get 45. Number 15, same kind of thing. A chef is using a mixture of 2 brands of Italian dressing. The first brand contains 6% vinegar. The second brand contains 10% vinegar. The chef wants to make 320 milliliters of a dressing that is 7% vinegar. How much of each brand should she use? How much of each one? So what's my first equation?
F plus S equals 320.
F plus S equals my 320 total milliliters that I'm going to make. My second equation.
Six percent of F plus 10% of S equals 7% of 320.
Exactly. 6% of F plus 10% of S equals 7% of 320. And if we take 7% of 320, we end up with
22.4.
22.4. So if we solve by the elimination method, we would probably take the top equation times
-6%.
negative 6%, negative 0.06. So negative 0.06 F minus 0.06 S equals 6% of 320. Actually, negative 6% of 320.
-19.2.
Negative 19.2. So the F's cancels out. 10% minus 6% would be 4%, so 0.04 S. 22.4 minus 19.2 would be
3.2.
3.2. So 3.2 divided by 0.04.
80.
S equals 80. So we had 80 milliliters of our second one. How much of our first are we going to use?
240.
140 did you say?
240.
240. So 240 milliliters of the first and 80 of the second.